One of the most significant developments in the document imaging and document management space was the development of advanced business process and workflow management tools. We have a set of tools in MetaStor and for application extender customers we call AXBPM, or Application Extender Business Process Management. And I'd like to go through some of the major pieces of the solution and talk about how these features help customers solve problems around managing processes and helps them reduce their costs and enhance their compliance with regulations and helps them enforce some consistency in their process. So let's take a look at an example here. I'm going to log in to this demo site, and we'll see as a knowledge worker, when I log in to the system, I'm presented with a view which in terms of look and feel is similar to the MetaStor repository that we saw earlier, except this system isn't designed to help users find documents. It's designed to give users an easy way into activities which they're responsible for managing as a knowledge worker. So in a business process with steps that require human intervention, the goal of this interface here, this is called Enterprise Console, the goal is to give the user the ability to manage their work, quickly see information that they need so that they can make good decisions. It also helps managers see things from a 30,000-foot view so they can do things like right-size their workforce, balance workloads, and things of that nature. So in this initial view on the left-hand side, we see queues, and each one of these queues has its own handling characteristics. So a queue, for example, can be shared among many different users. It could sort of be like a shared inbox, if you will. And if I'm a member of a team, we can all go to this queue and pull work as it accrues into the queue. And so if we're evaluating loan documents, as we are in this case, I can pull a loan number or a case out of this queue and begin to work the item. As a manager, I can actually assign work, so I could check off a few items here, and I could actually push work to one of my employees. So I could actually allocate these work items as I go, and choose Bill Bastian here and assign the work to Bill. And so now this would show up in his inbox when he logs into the system. We can also call work back. As a manager, I could check off some of these items and recall it back into the this group box. So that if Bill goes to lunch and doesn't come back, I could pull the work out of his inbox and have someone else work the item. From this view, I can see some information about these workflow tasks that are important in the context of this business process. I can see this is a unique trait. And so this is completely customizable. These data fields can include whatever's important for that given business process. The queue itself can be automated so that as a user, I'm not actually going in here and picking items, but in fact, we could have the queue itself assign items to a discrete set of users based on their current workload, the number of items they have in their inbox, the frequency that they're working items, so we can intelligently route information to the participants in the process. The queue itself can also perform some escalations. So the queue can be set up in such a way that it has intelligence and automatically escalates items that are aged to a certain point. For example, in this queue, if the workflow task is older than 72 hours, we could have a notification go to a manager, or we could have the item automatically assigned to someone responsible for escalations. So from a user perspective, once I pick items, they appear in my inbox, and I can access those with a click of a button. And this panel on the left-hand side is used to convey the documents that are currently in inventory. So this particular workflow task is a document-centric workflow. We also have non-document-centric workflows in production for users. These are workflow tasks that are kicked off by an electronic form on a website or through a call center. Someone actually initiates the opening of a new case. We also handle those kinds of workflows. We manage those kinds of processes. But in this case, this is a document-based workflow, and so a batch of documents has come in, and we can see basically an inventory of the documents associated with this particular loan. As I click on these items in this control here, the system is actually integrated with the MetaStor document repository. So as I interact with this form, it's pulling back documents that are stored inside the repository. So this is how the two systems work hand in glove to deliver information to knowledge workers. Something else I'd like to call back or call out here is that at the bottom we've got a line of data. In the mortgage industry, this might be referred to as a data tape. This is actually information that came from an external system, and so the workflow system can pull these disparate data sources together and provide a view to the knowledge worker so that they can make a good decision based on what they see on the screen. So in this case, the goal is for the knowledge worker to evaluate what's on these physical documents that have been scanned with the data tape to see if there's any discrepancies, such as if I'm looking at the note, I could check to see is the note rate that's recorded on the data tape what we have on the actual image. So this is what the user interface looks like. As a knowledge worker, I would go in here, and then once I'm ready to execute an action, my actions would appear typically in this area, and the buttons are programmed specifically for the next step in the process. In this case, the queue that I'm coming out of is allowing me to route back to something called the missing queue, but this could easily say approved or rejected or escalated or whatever those actions are. So just to recap, the user interface is designed from the ground up to give the knowledge worker easy access to workflow tasks. It gives managers visibility into the workflows that are in flight so that they can manage their teams. And this all adds up to efficient processing of work and a consistent following of whatever the set process is for a given a business process. So I'm going to move into out of the basic runtime, user interface. This is what a knowledge worker would see, and I want to move into more of the design environment, so you can see a little bit more about how a process like this is put together. So we'll go into what's called a workflow registry in business process management. It's a continuous process of improvement. So there's a workflow that's deployed, and then often it's after time goes by and you run an automated process for a while, you find new ways to improve it and optimize it. And so a new version of this workflow will likely be deployed in the future. But this is the design mosaic, it's called. And so this interface allows a BA or a non-technical user to go in and choose from, in a drag and drop sort of fashion, human activities, so system to human or system to system. So there's various engine activities to call external web services, to take action on workflow tasks based on decision points. So there's a variety of actions here. And as these activities are brought over onto the design mosaic, and there's routes are created for the work, there's a point and click sort of interface to control things like who's going to be responsible for working a given queue. Or if it's a notification activity, who's going to be notified? What's the channel? Is it going to be text messaging? Is it going to be email or something else? And so all of that is without any sort of code. We also have the ability, and there's an example here where we've got a C# script that'll execute to perform some actions. And that's where a developer can come in behind the business analyst and do some things to help the workflow integrate and consume data from other data sources. So that's an example of the design mosaic. It's designed from the ground up to give business analysts and non-technical users an easy way to work with the business, the people that know the process best, to model an improved process with a graphical tool so that once the coders get it, they can write the code, and this delivers quicker value for the end users that are going to be working inside of the workflow. So that's the design mosaic. Finally, I'd like to show a little about the reports. We talked before about the ability to drive business activity monitoring through KPIs, and there are various KPIs that are important in any process. So if I'm looking at accounts payable, I might be interested in the early pay discounts that are available to me for the invoices that are currently in flight. This might help me do smart things like prioritize certain workflow items so that they're approved in a timely fashion, so I can take advantage of those early pay discounts. On the other hand, in a regulated environment like the mortgage space, if the borrower has requested a modification to their loan, I have a responsibility to respond and follow a process consistently within certain time frames. And so I might look at, as a key performance indicator, the number of times I'm going through and evaluating certain properties and rejecting that application for modification. That could be an early warning sign for me as a process owner that maybe we need to work with underwriting and see what we can do to improve the number of modifications we can make. So there's many different ways to approach processes, and MetaSource has always worked in lockstep with the business owners so that we can collect those key metrics on the front end. And so once you have those, they can be added into the software and dashboards can be created. So that's really what we're looking at here. This is just a simplistic example where we're showing in raw numbers what's been finished versus aborted. And there's another custom status here called sleeping. So these are items that are, of the total that are currently in a sleeping state. This report here, this graphical report, can be emailed out automatically on a schedule, or it could be emailed out when a threshold is reached, so that somebody that's responsible for the overall process could get an early warning of a problem before they get a phone call from somebody involved with the process that isn't getting what they need. So this helps managers make good decisions about workforce allocation, but it can also help identify emergent trends that will cause problems later on. So this is a great tool here. And I'll finish by showing the workflow map that we were just looking at. This is an actual workflow task that has moved through this particular process. So each one of the workflow tasks, or cases if you want to think of them that way, they move through this map. And for each one of these steps, we can see when it entered the step and when it exited the step. This gives us a huge amount of data that we can leverage for reporting, so that we can see how long it takes to transition through each step. This helps us identify bottlenecks. So overall, I can monitor my process health if I'm meeting my SLA from the time a workflow task is started to the time it's completed. I can also, from a performance management aspect, I can see who picked this item, when they picked it, and what they did with it. And so that gives me the ability to monitor my team and provide them feedback, give them additional training, or whatever they need to help improve their efficiency. There's a lot of data that can be, and here's an example. We can see when this item was placed into this particular queue. So the clock's always ticking and we're always tracking. There's many other features associated with our business process management tool, AXBPM. We wanted to give you a flavor of the main things that we feel are important, and we're looking forward to having more conversations about our products and how we deliver these services to our customers. So thank you for your time.